Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right?
Oh!
The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
and he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs. Hey, welcome into the Arrowhead Addict podcast. It is the OG Hour. Patrick Allen here with you as always. Boy, do we have a big show for you today. A ton to get to. It is, as is tradition on this show, time to do our game by game, our official. We do it after the schedule comes out, but we've got new information now. We have to do our game by game Chiefs seasons predictions. I want to walk you through every game, tell you how I think it's going to unfold, and give you the Chiefs' final record and what seed they'll get. If I think they'll make the playoffs, maybe. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. Shout out to all the listeners out there and all of our members. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a solid. Hit that like button, and let's get us some Chiefs fans in here. Let's spread the good word about the show today. Oh, we also have to go, before we get to the predictions, we've got to go over the 53-man roster. The Chiefs made a couple trades. They signed a guy, a familiar face, since the last time you and I were podcasting together. So tons to get to. I see in the chat already somebody was asking about Verderam. Verderam will be back. It's just schedules are tough. Man's working at Sports Illustrated now, so he's been going to different camps and things like that. I've got a newborn at home, so we've been trying to sync up the schedule, but we want to try to keep some regularity with the show and its start time for you guys. And as such, we're sticking to 4 o'clock right now. We're coordinating schedules. Verderam will be back. Don't worry. And we'll be able to get his take on everything. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you guys. There's my guy Slothy. I see him out there. Some of our other members. Lucas says if Patrick predicts one loss, we all have to label him a hater. Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody who predicts Chiefs to lose even a single game is a brain dead mouth breather. All right. We got a ton to get to today. The good news is no ad read. Very exciting. I don't want to be here forever, and I don't think producer Richard wants to be here forever as well. So I'm going to try to keep this thing moving because we got to predict every game, and there's a ton to get to. So news off the top: Rashee Rice suspension update. I saw this clip on Twitter earlier. Brett Veach talked to the media day today. He was asked about the Rashee Rice. He was asked about the Hollywood Brown injury. I'm going to get to that. Rashee Rice suspension update came from Ian Rappaport. He talked to a source at the NFL, and they said that it is unlikely that they're going to do anything until the legal process plays out. Let me get you the exact quote. Excuse me. Got to find Rappaport. Oh, man, I typed into Twitter Rashee Rappaport. That's not going to work. That person doesn't exist. Here's what Ian Rappaport said. He said, clarity from at NFL PR guy, so NFL's PR guy Brian McCarthy, on Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. He said, and I quote, "We don't anticipate he'll be placed on the commissioner's exempt unless there is a material change in the case." So they're going to let this thing play out. And look, to be perfectly honest with you, that's the right way to do things. Innocent until proven guilty, even though he's kind of almost admitted to it. We saw the video, all that stuff, and a suspension probably is coming. There's a legal process that has to play out here, and you don't want to be handing out punishments to people when you don't maybe necessarily have all the details. Like, what if this isn't going to happen, but like, what if it came out in the trial that like he wasn't driving the car? And then the NFL had suspended him. Like, that wouldn't be fair. So I get it. It makes sense. Even though the NFL is super inconsistent and they'll just do anything at any time. So we can't really trust them, at least on its face. That's the right way to do things. And it looks like that's how it's being done here. So with the legal stuff not really seeming to be kicking up until around December. That's good news. I don't think we'll see a Rashee Rice suspension this season. Shout out to Slothy for the super chat. He says, no ad read. Then today's episode of the OG Hour is brought to you by me. That's right. I was listening to Sterling's show on Tuesday, and I believe that was also sponsored by Slothy Style and our good friend Clint McKenzie, longtime listener of the show. I don't feel like I've seen Clint in the chat for a while. Maybe he's working during the OG Hour. At any rate, appreciate Slothy, one of our members, one of our most dedicated listeners, and our friend. Okay, news. Hollywood Brown injury update. This one came from Veach. He said it is similar to the Tyreek Hill injury and that it falls within that he believes, he doesn't want to speak out of turn, but it falls within the Tyreek injury timeline. Remember, Tyreek had the same injury as Hollywood Brown a couple seasons ago. Brett Veach said there's a reason why we didn't put Hollywood Brown on injured reserve. He also said that Hollywood Brown can laugh without pain now, which is good. That's rough, man. That just sounds like a very unpleasant injury. But same trajectory as Tyreek. So we're looking at 3 games here. Maybe he gets back at 2. But if the Chiefs thought he was going to miss 4 games, they would have put him on IR to save that extra roster spot. So this is pretty much what we've known for a while, but it's nice to get that confirmation that he's improving. The Chiefs feel confident, but I wouldn't expect to see him early in the season against the Ravens and probably even the Bengals, but maybe he gets back out there. You don't want to rush it. You need him for the year. Those are 2 big games. This whole thing's a bummer, but it is what it is. What are we going to do? Again, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that like button. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your predictions for the games that I'm about to predict. So make sure you're firing off in there. Shout out to Becky. I see Lucas. I see Trevor. 1 week to go. That's right, man. We are 1 week away from real Chiefs football. I'm so excited. I can't wait. There's a great barbecue place opened up down the street for me. And I'm not trying to crap on Chicago, but as somebody who is a huge fan of Kansas City barbecue, who travels to Kansas City frequently and eats as much Kansas City barbecue as he possibly can during his window in town, the Chicago barbecue scene ain't it. They do a lot of things really well here when it comes to food. There's a lot of great higher end restaurants. It's a great bar food town, wings all over the place, Italian beefs, hot dogs, all that kind of stuff. Chicago does great pizza. I love the deep dish pizza. But I've been into a few barbecue places and hasn't gone well. But this place, Sanders Barbecue, shout out if you're in Chicago, Sanders Barbecue, down the street from my house, just opened up. And it is bad news, man. It is good. It is good. I had a beef rib over there the other day. Absolutely knocked my socks off. The ribs are good. The brisket's fantastic. Some good sides. They've got a sweet potato cornbread. I'm getting hungry already. I'm dying. And so the good news is they're open Thursday through Sunday. So I'm going to be over there, and I'm not smoking anything myself because I got to work on Thursday, but man, I'm picking up some barbecue and I'm ready to celebrate another season of Chiefs football. I hope you're doing the same. Okay. And then another big news item that happened since we met last, the Chiefs brought back Juju Smith-Schuster. I got to say, I've listened to a lot of takes on this. I'm of 2 minds. I think you can look at the signing of 2 ways. Now, they signed him before they did the roster cuts. And so that was obviously bad news for the back end of the roster guys like Nico, Remigio, and Justin Ross. You can look at this 2 ways. On one, like on the positive, you can say, hey, the Chiefs are getting a guy, a veteran player who helped them win a Super Bowl, who was their leading receiver that year, a couple of years ago, who Patrick Mahomes trusts, who knows the offense. They're getting him for nothing because he left, signed a big deal with the Patriots. There's a whole new regime there. He's back on the street. He comes back to Kansas City. Since he got cut, the Patriots are paying the bulk of his contract. Chiefs are getting him for basically nothing. This is a huge win. That's one way to look at it. If you want to be a negative Nancy, you can look at it and say, man, Juju's toast. There's all these reports about his injuries and his knee. He did not look good in New England last year. The Patriots don't have anybody at receiver and they've got a rookie quarterback that's potentially going to be starting, wouldn't you like to have a veteran pair of hands there just to kind of help that guy, make sure he develops? They cut him. So, I don't know what Juju Smith-Schuster's got left. So, like, how am I supposed to grade this transaction, right? Like, I can only go on the information that I have, which is that he might be done, but that also he was successful in the Kansas City program. So, is it a good signing? Is it a mistake? Is it a bad signing? I'm going to lean towards this is going to work out. And the reason why I think that is because the Chiefs have more information than I do, right? Like and first of all, they're not bringing Juju Smith. This isn't like a situation like last year where you're like, man, we could use Juju because these guys stink. They can't catch. They can't get open. That's not the situation the Chiefs are going to be in this year with Hollywood Brown, presumably with Xavier Worthy, with second year Rashee Rice. This guy's coming in. He's coming in to be your fourth, fifth pass catching option. So he provides a little bit of protection too, because he's going to kind of do some of the same things that Rashee Rice does in the intermediate routes. So if this NFL does NFL things and they do decide to suspend Rashee Rice at some point, or there's an injury, obviously Hollywood Brown is not going to be there at the start of the season. This is a nice thing to have. And I'm assuming that the Chiefs worked him out, looked at him, and have determined that maybe he's not the guy he was 2 years ago, but they think he can contribute. They're not going to be sending him on streak routes and running a bunch of 9 routes and stuff like that. He's going to be doing intermediate work. He's good at getting on the same page as Patrick Mahomes, kind of like Travis Kelce is. So we saw so many times during his time in Kansas City, Juju was able to just get open and turn around and move upfield. So maybe he's lost a little bit of a step, but with the way that the Chiefs offense is going to be constructed with burners like Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy, and then of course you've got Justin Watson, like he's got some speed. If he's out there, Rashee Rice, like he's going to be working underneath. He's going to be going up against, hopefully some linebacker matchups and things like that. He doesn't need to be a burner. He just needs to be able to go find a hole in the zone and get open and make defenses pay if they're going to play a shell and try to take away the speed over the top. So if it works out that way and he's able to occasionally go in there and contribute and help them move the sticks, that's fantastic because he's already up to speed. He has a rapport with Patrick Mahomes. And if he doesn't work out, then what's the downside? You've got Justin Ross, so we're going to get to cuts in a minute. They brought Justin Ross back to the practice squad. I mean, so what's like, you call Justin Ross. Like, if he doesn't work out, the downside is like, what? Oh, no, we lost like Nico Remigio. Like, okay. Like, those guys weren't, those guys are, Nico is going to be a special teams guy. He's not going to be probably ever like a contributing like wide receiver for the Chiefs. So at first I was like, I don't know, is this guy toast? But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? This is fine. This is a good move. It's a smart move. Veteran depth. He's not going to be the 1 or the 2 or even the 3. I like the move. Let me know in the chat, how did you feel about this move? Were you surprised by it? Or there's some Justin Ross truthers out there who are devastated? I just knocked over my microphone. Style and grace. That's what they used to call me. Let's see what you guys say in the chat. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Rice. He's not going to get June. He's not going to get suspended. I don't think so. Juju South Soup Troop says, I like the Juju signing. Took a look at everything they did. It's to have a backstop at every possible position. I think that's smart and that's true. Yeah. So Jesus says Ross was a one-trick pony. Yeah, I mean, you just look at like he wasn't able to do it, and we'll get to cuts now. Justin Ross doesn't make the team. He comes back on the practice squad. I'm going to go through the cuts, and then I'll go through the practice squad for you and some of the other moves that the Chiefs made this week. Okay, so here are your quarterbacks, and if you haven't seen the final roster, this will help. Becky says, I love that Juju knows the system. Absolutely, Becky. He's plug and play, right? He's plug and play. He's a known quantity for the Chiefs, and I think that that's a good thing because those back end guys at the receiver position really probably weren't going to get it done for you. Okay. Quarterbacks, your quarterbacks. Chiefs kept 2. Patrick Mahomes, Carson Wentz. Not really any surprises there. They don't really need to keep a third quarterback. Running back. This one was interesting. The Chiefs kept Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Isaiah Pacheco, and Carson Steele. They just kept 3. Later, they brought Samaje Perine, who was cut from the Broncos, into the fold. He signed. He's an excellent pass catcher. So looks like they'll be carrying 4 running backs, and they probably had an inkling that they were going to be able to get this done, and that's why they went the route that they did. And again, we'll get to the practice squad and all that in a minute. But Samaje Perine on the roster for the Chiefs. Wide receivers: Hollywood Brown, Mecole Hardman, Rashee Rice, Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, Xavier Worthy, Sky Moore. So the Chiefs keep 7 like we had been predicting. I thought it was going to be either Ross or Hardman or Mejio. Or Mejio doesn't make the cut. Ross doesn't make the cut, ends up on the practice squad. I think this is, after last year, the way that wide receiver room looked, how do you guys feel about this? Hollywood, Mecole, Sky, Rashee Rice. Sky Moore is like way down the list. He was a guy you were trying to rely on at the beginning of last year. So you've got, I just think you're just looking so much better now. It allows Justin Watson to be a guy that you're not relying on, but a guy who occasionally comes in and makes a big play for you down the field. I like it. Jesus says Chiefs need players they can trust. I agree with that. You're trying to win a 3rd Super Bowl in a row here. Let's not mess around too much, and let's not experiment. They did some experimenting at the wide receiver position last year, and we know how that went. Tight end, they kept 4. Noah Gray, Kelsey, Jared Wiley. They cut Irv Smith, and they went and they traded with the Cowboys for Peyton Hendershot. This is a guy the Cowboys were going to cut. Chiefs gave, I think, a conditional 7th round pick to get him. The reason that they did that, is because otherwise Hendershot would have been subject to waivers. The Chiefs are obviously dead last in waiver priority. They didn't think Hendershot was going to make it to them, and he was a guy they wanted, so they made the trade for him before the cut. This is a great move. He's going to play special teams for him. He's a blocker. They just must not have been impressed with Irv Smith and what he brought to the table. And so he's on the street, and the Chiefs bring in Hendershot. So you've got Noah Gray, who's a little bit of a hybrid, Hendershot, and then Kelsey and the rookie Jared Wiley. Offensive line, the Chiefs keep 10. Mike Caliendo, Ethan Driscoll, CJ Hansen, Creed Humphrey, Wanye Morris, Hunter Norzad, Trey Smith, Kingsley Suamataia, Jawan Taylor, and Joe Thuney. The surprise here is they didn't keep Lucas Niang. Look, we talked about it on the show. That last preseason game, he looked bad. And the Chiefs have seen all they need to see of Lucas Niang. He was a guy they really liked, thought that could be their starting right tackle at one point. It just hasn't worked out. I think that this is a solid list here for the Chiefs. And they've got some interesting prospects. And Mike Caliendo, who's a really, he's been around. He's a dependable guy and a backup for you. And then you've got Kingsley, who was I think he was the highest rated rookie tackle by Pro Football Focus in the preseason. He looks like he belongs out there. That's good news for the Chiefs. Just got to hope for health. Here. And that Jawan Taylor doesn't get penalized every other play. All right, defensive line. Felix Anudike-Uzomah had made the team. Not a surprise, but you want to see more from him. Mike Dana, Malik Herring, Chris Jones, George Karlaftis, Derek Nottie, Mike Pennell, big Mike Pennell, Cam Thomas, and Turk Wharton return. Pretty much the usual suspects there. No real surprise along the defensive line. Linebacker, Nick Bolton, Leo Chenal, Cam Jones, Drew Tranquil. I don't think there's a ton of surprises there. I think this is a solid group. I think you've got good depth at the linebacker position with Bolton. Chenal coming in for a second season. I like what I've seen out of Jack Cochran over the years, and of course Drew Tranquil. I think this group's going to be fine, and I don't think they're going to miss a beat. You'll miss a little bit of that Willie Gay Jr. athleticism, but I think they'll be fine. Defensive backs. They kept 10. Chamari Connor, Brian Cook, Jaden Hicks, who was excellent in the preseason. Very excited about him. Nazeeh Johnson, Nick Jones, Trent McDuffie, Justin Reed, who's been a little bit banged up, Chris Roland Wallace, Jalen Watson, and Joshua Williams. Not a ton of surprises there. I thought Echo Boydo might make it, but, he had some up and down moments in the preseason. But otherwise, a pretty solid group of DBs here. Chiefs still need to figure out who's going to be that rock solid number 2 for them, but I think there's enough talent here that they're going to figure it out. They just may need to rotate a little bit early in the year. And your specialists, no surprises at all. Matt Ariza was excellent in the preseason, the punt god. Harrison Butker, the GOAT, and of course the other GOAT, James Winchester, will be back as your long snapper. So that's your 53-man roster. So let's pull up the practice squad. Now, they claimed a player on waivers, a cornerback, Eric Scott out of Southern Mississippi. And then on the practice squad, you got Amani Bailey, the running back. Swayze Bozeman, great name, one of the linebackers. I thought he made some plays there in the preseason. Kind of excited that they're able to keep him around. They're going to bring back Dion Bush, who's been a nice depth piece for them at safety on the practice squad. Cole Christensen, linebacker. Baylor Cupp, a tight end prospect. So I was interested. He came back on the practice squad. Matt Dickerson at defensive tackle. Neil Farrell at defensive tackle. Again, some familiar faces. Keontae Ingram, who was in the running back room. So again, remember, they brought P. Ryan in. So Ingram is kind of a guy who knows the system. He's on the practice squad, but obviously he didn't make enough of an impression to snag a roster spot. Truman Jones at defensive end out of Harvard, the Harvard man. Fabian Lovett, defensive tackle out of Florida State. Your guy, Lucas Niang, didn't make the roster, but he's there on the practice squad hanging around. Nico Remigio is back on the practice squad. Justin Ross on the practice squad. Keith Taylor, cornerback out of Washington, who they were moving him around at different play and, kind of playing early, playing late during the preseason. So he's a guy maybe that, he's like the new Echo Boydo, like who's the DiCaprio Boodle type. It seems like that they're kind of interested to see if he develops. And then Montrell Washington, wide receiver out of Sanford, who's done some return work for the Chiefs in the past. You've got a solid group here of developmental prospects and guys who know the system, who and they look. I mean, it tells you something that some of these guys aren't on other teams, right? The Chiefs are a very competitive roster, and nobody has kind of swooped in to take these guys. One guy who won't be back, and of course the Chiefs waived Nick Jones. I think I read him on they waived Nick Jones because they brought in Eric Scott. So out of Southern Mississippi at the cornerback position. So there you have it. That's the practice squad. I don't know if there's anything that really jumps out at me as being shocking. I'm glad that even though Lucas Niang did not look good, he's back on the practice squad because you're going to need some depth there, and hopefully maybe he's hurt. I don't know what's going on there, but Chiefs roster's looking good. I don't see any massive holes here. I like the pickup of P. Ryan. Of course, they kept Carson Steele, which is really exciting. So I think they've got a little bit more power. P. Ryan comes in to be your pass catcher. Notably, Lewis Reese-Zammit, the rugby player who kind of came in with a lot of fanfare. We talked a lot about on the show. Is he going to be a guy who helps in the return game? He was on the roster as a running back. He did not make it. And I don't know if the Chiefs offered him to be on the practice squad, but he's decided to go and take his talents to Jacksonville. And I believe today signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars practice squad. So there you have it. Kathy says, do I see Thomas getting more snaps than FAU? I don't know. Maybe. It's really difficult because, if you're the Chiefs, you need to play the player who gives you the best chance to win. At the same time, you invested a first-round pick in Felix Anudike-Uzomah, who was out there playing late in the last preseason game, not something that you would have wanted or expected in his second year after being a first-round pick. But it is what it is. I I don't think there are sacred cows with the Chiefs. Like, they want to give these guys a chance to develop, just like they did with Sky Moore last year. But when it became clear that Sky Moore just wasn't it, they moved in different directions. And this year, Sky Moore, second round pick, draft capital, as our good friend Sterling would say, sunk costs. You already spent it. So if it's not working out, don't drag yourselves down further. So no, don't put FAU out there and have him taking up a bunch of snaps if the dude can't play. And they know better than I do, but you do want to, if you can get him in there, rotate him in, and you hope to see that development. But it's pretty clear that he did not kind of seize the brass ring there in training camp this year. So it is what it is. This might be a miss. Again, if you guys are interested in becoming a member of the Arrowhead Addict podcast, we've got a link down in the description wherever you get this podcast, whether you're watching live on YouTube or you're listening to the audio version later. We really value you, our audio listeners. Check it out. It's a really cool community. A lot of great guys and gals that you see messaging in the chats. You hear us mention their names because they're wonderful supporters of us. I'm in a fantasy football league with 20 of these folks. We just finally finished our draft. It took like a week, but it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm excited about that. Sterling's in the league. Price Carter's in the league. That's just one of the things we do. We're probably going to have a happy hour coming up here to celebrate the start of the season. We got to get that scheduled. We let you guys know when we're in town. We meet up for beers. And we've got the private Discord, and then we watch the games in there together. We chat. When Chiefs news breaks, everybody hops in there. It's a great community. If you're looking to connect with other Chiefs fans and you want to support the content we do here, it's a win-win. So you're not just supporting us. We're not just asking for a donation. We're asking for you to support us, and we're trying to create things that provide value to you as well beyond just the show that we do. So check it out. Okay, let's get into. Let me make sure that's all I have on my outline. Yes, it's time to predict the season, y'all. I do this every year. I'm super excited to do the predictions this year. I think it's going to go a lot better than last year. When the Chiefs lost more games than we're accustomed to. And let me know in the chat what your prediction is for these games. This is not a one-way conversation. I appreciate you guys watching live. Again, make sure you hit that like button if you're watching on YouTube. And let's dive into it right now. Okay, so everybody knows the Chiefs, they win the Super Bowl. And when you win the Super Bowl, that means you get to kick off the season on Thursday Night Football. And it's an AFC championship game rematch from last year with the Baltimore Ravens coming to Arrowhead Thursday, September 5th, 7:20 p.m. The game's going to be on NBC and Peacock. Look, week one is always tricky, right? You've got the Ravens. They're going to be out for revenge after the AFC championship game. They won a ton of games last year. They had an incredible season. And they once again fell short, as often teams do in the AFC, to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You know they're looking back at the game tape of that one, and they're saying, we should have won that game. We should have won that game. Hey, that's what happens when you get to the playoffs, man. Like, the Chiefs just have the X factor of Patrick Mahomes, and even with him, the games are close. The Ravens are a really talented team. I really like Lamar Jackson. I think he's a good dude. He's a really fun football player to watch. Harbaugh's an excellent coach. And week one's always wonky because you just don't know what teams are going to roll out. They've got new stuff. You haven't settled in yet. So you get strange results. The Chiefs last year, they lost to the Lions in week one. They couldn't catch the ball. That was a harbinger of things to come. Losses that we normally wouldn't think that they would lose and not being able to catch the ball. That's the bad news. The good news is they won the Super Bowl anyway and went back to back. So, this one, I think the Chiefs are going to be amped up for this game. I do not think they're going to take the Ravens lightly. And I think that they're going to learn from what happened to them last year. Travis Kelce is going to be there. Chris Jones is going to be there. They weren't in the opener last year. The Chiefs are going to need to be on upset alert. But at the end of the day, when the Chiefs execute, they beat the Ravens. And I think Spags just has Lamar Jackson's number. This guy's so good and he wins so many regular season games. But Spags just seems to have his number. The Chiefs defense is good. They win. They move to 1-0. Let's go to the chat, see what you guys are saying about this one. Where's my damn chat window? Honestly, man. Okay. Slothy says, like Nick Wright last year, never a doubt. 20-0. Oh, I love it, man. I love it. You guys are giving me your full season record prediction. We're going to go game by game. But Jesus is already saying 15-2. Ian's saying 15-2. Brian says 13-4 and says they're going to lose the Ravens, 49ers, Chargers, and Bills. Jesus says Lamar Jackson has the Shanks versus the Chiefs. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Let's get on to week 2. So let me know your week 2 prediction. It's going to be the Bengals Sunday, first Sunday game of the year, September 15th at Arrowhead for the second straight week. This time taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow's back. He looks like Eminem. It's weird. I don't know why he did that to his hair, but who am I to judge? It's going to be on CBS. That's a 3:25 kick. Another tough one to predict. You know, the Bengals, they were the Chiefs' closest rival. Are they still? They've had some changes. Have they figured out their offensive line? And it's just been a while since we've seen Joe Burrow play. I don't think he's going to be all of a sudden a bad quarterback, but will he be rusty? The Bengals have traditionally gotten off to a slow start. Is that going to happen this year, or are they going to start fast? You know, they started really slow last year. Burrow was injured, but then he started looking really good. They started looking like the Bengals we know, and then he got hurt again. Look, I think the Chiefs win that first game against the Ravens. And I think in this one, some of the new pieces that they have on offense go through some growing pains in this one. They're not a well-oiled machine yet on offense. This is a high-quality opponent coming in, trying to get back on track. It's a good roster. It's a good team. I think the Bengals win a close one. I originally had the Chiefs winning this game, but I just think without Hollywood Brown, you've got a rookie wide receiver out there, some new pieces you're trying to fit in. I think they'll have enough to take care of the Ravens, but I think this one gets into a little bit of shootout territory, and the Chiefs just aren't quite calibrated yet on the offensive side of the ball. And they easily could win, but I think the Bengals steal one here, and the Chiefs fall to 1-1 to start the season. Let's see what you guys think. Lauren Shanks says will Chase be there? If Chase is not there, because he's been holding out, and so he's just kind of coming back, and it's up in the, I think he'll be out there, but I think if he's not there, I do think the Chiefs win for sure. Let's see here. Jesus says Bengals start slow. Lauren Shanks says Hollywood will be back maybe after the mini bye because the Chiefs start on Thursday. I think he's probably going to miss this game. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he's healing fast and they're injecting him with platelets or whatever, and he's ready to go. But I just don't think he's going to be out there. Slothy says I'm a hater. You're right. Yeah. Any other predictions on the Bengals before we move on? Not seeing any. Okay, we'll move on. Maybe some will come in late. There's a delay with the chat. Okay, so Chiefs fall to 1-1. Let's go to week 3 here. The Chiefs go to their first road game of the year, Sunday, September 22nd. This one's at Atlanta, the Falcons, and it's going to be on Sunday Night Football, NBC and Peacock. Falcons are an interesting team this year. They've got a solid defense. They're loaded with weapons on the offensive side of the ball. They go out, they get Kirk Cousins. I think that makes him much more dangerous. Now, he's coming off, I think it was an ACL injury, or maybe it was Achilles. At any rate, we haven't seen him in a minute, but we know he's a good quarterback. He's getting up there in age. New system. Is he calibrated yet for this game? And it's a road game, first road game of the season. So this is a tricky one for the Chiefs. This is a talented team with a good quarterback. We just don't know how it's going to play. I think if the Chiefs do indeed beat the Bengals and get off to that hot start, 2-0, 2 contenders in the AFC, and they go into this game, they'd better be careful here because it's a classic trap game in that situation. But in my scenario, the Chiefs lose to the Bengals. I think they're better for having struggled against the Bengals. They learn some things. They figure some things out. Maybe Hollywood Brown comes back for this game. In fact, I think he will. They won't struggle here. I got the Chiefs winning by 14, 2-1. I think the Falcons are going to have a good season. I just don't think they're on the Chiefs level, and they certainly won't be in week 3. So I've got the Chiefs winning. Let's see if anybody in the chat has thoughts on this game. Oh, KCDC, our buddy, is in the chat. Says, "Sup, Kingdom." Daniel Akers is in there. Says, "Hello, everyone." Lauren Shanks says, "New coaching staff takes a while. Chiefs get the win, 3-0." So Lauren Shanks says the Chiefs are 3-0. He thinks they're going to beat the Bengals. I agree. I just don't think – I think the Falcons will be all right this year, but I think the Chiefs go and get a road win on this one. Okay, moving on. Week 4, Sunday, September 29th. The first game against Harbaugh and the fresh and new Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chiefs start with 2 at home at Arrowhead. Then they go on the road to Atlanta. And then the following Sunday, September 29th, they're on the road in LA. It's a 3:25 kick on CBS. It's another weird game, same rival, right? But a competent coach, which they did not have before. So you get a competent coach who he's going to get the most, Harbaugh's going to get the most out of the talent on the Chargers roster. But the defense, by and large, is talented and old. And the offense is talented and has some talent and young. I'm talking about Herbert. I'm talking about they drafted Ladd McConkey. I just don't think they've got the firepower or the running backs. You know, J.K. Dobbins has always been hurt. They got Gus Edwards just to hang with the Chiefs. So I think the Chargers will make it a fight because they've got some pieces and they've got a good coach. But the Chiefs are just the superior team. They should win this game. I think it's, Harbaugh will find a way to slow it down and make it ugly because that's kind of his style anyway. So I'm expecting a full-on divisional brawl, but I think the Chiefs win this one early in Harbaugh's tenure. They're just not going to be ready, and I just don't think they have the talent. So Chiefs move to 3-1 for me. Lauren Shank says, hard to go from East to West Coast, but not scared of the Chargers. I agree. Kathy says, KC, baby. I agree. KC's going to get the win in this one. Okay, week 5. Monday, October 7th, Monday Night Football. I believe this is the Monday after Sterling's wedding. So lots of good juju and vibes around the Chiefs that weekend. It's New Orleans. Back at Arrowhead, Monday Night Football. So it's a 7:15 kick. It's going to be on ESPN. I just don't think there's much to break down here. The Saints have some nice players, but I think, honestly, I think at this point in the season, their coach, Dennis Allen, will be on the hot seat. He's not a good coach. He's not a good leader. If you've ever seen the interviews with this guy, he throws his own players under the bus. He was talking about one of their backup running backs, and he was like, oh, he never gets on the field. He's always hurt. He's got to show me more. Like, if you watch this guy's press conferences, he's like the anti-Andy Reid. And he's never done anything as a head coach. At least, like, maybe you get a Belichick out there or somebody like that, and, like, they've got some clout, and maybe they win enough they can get – people are scared of them. They can get away with this crap. This guy, Dennis Allen, is not it, man. He is – I would be shocked. I do not think he's going to make it through the season with the Saints. You got Derek Carr. I think this thing's just going down in flames, and I think it's going down in flames fast. I think they're going to be in disarray. I think the Chiefs win big on Monday Night Football. I think this is a bad choice for Monday Night Football, frankly, to put the Saints in there. They've got a great fan base and a great atmosphere down there, but with the Chiefs being at home, Monday Night Football, that coach, I think he'll have lost the team by then. So the Chiefs moved to 4-1 after Monday Night Football. Sean Browning says the Chiefs are going 14-3. All right, I like it. Lauren Shanks thinks the Saints could win their division, but still, I don't think so, man. I'm telling you, that thing's going to fall apart. That dude, I bet the whole locker room. Remember the thing last year too when they got in the victory formation because they wanted to get what's his face, Jamal Williams, I think the backup. They wanted to get him a touchdown because he had a ton of touchdowns the year before, and then they got in the victory formation. Because they asked the coach they wanted to run the ball, and he's like, no, victory formation. And so Jameis Winston, the players, they just did it anyway. And then he threw them all under the bus afterward. Like, this guy just doesn't get it. I'm not pro get into victory formation and then stuff it down the team's throat. Like, if you want to try to score a touchdown, go up there and line up and then just do it. But, so that was on the players for, getting in the victory formation. I think that was shitty and a cheap way to get the touchdown. But, he should have just let him try to get the touchdown. Nobody would have been mad. Maybe they would have been a little bit miffed that he was running up the score. But nobody would have been mad if the players come to you and they're like, we want to get this guy a touchdown. That's a good thing, man. They care about their teammate. He sucks. It's going to be a disaster. Kathy says EB in New Orleans. I'm here for it, man. I think he could turn them around. Okay. Week 6 is a bye. But I have a prediction for week 6. Of the regular season for the Chiefs. Chiefs are going to go into the bye week. They're going to be feeling good about themselves at 4-1. The news will break on the Chiefs bye week. Are you ready for this? During the bye week, the news will break that Travis Kelce has proposed to Taylor Swift, and she has accepted. I just think I have a feeling. This is a prediction episode. We got to get a little bold here. We don't know how things are going to turn out. I didn't want to take a bye week myself on the predictions. So I thought, what's going to happen during the bye week? That's what's going to happen. Travis Kelce, he's going to get away for a couple of days with Taylor Swift, and he's going to pop the question. Or maybe she'll pop the question to him. I don't know. But he's just going to continue his streak of just utterly dominating both the NFL on the field and life off the field. Man just signed like $100 million podcast contract with his brother. I don't know who's doing better than Travis Kelce right now. I got to be honest with you. So we'll see. Week 6, that's my prediction. Travis Kelce pops question. All right. Week 7 prediction. And let me know in the chat. Do you think I'm right? Is that when it's going to go down? Is that when he's going to pop it? Okay. Week 7, Sunday, October 20th at San Francisco. So you get your Super Bowl rematch. Chiefs, 49ers. Chiefs go on the road, 3:25 kick on Fox. Super Bowl rematch. It's another tough one to predict. On the positive side, you've got Andy Reid off a bye. He's legendary. That said, I think the 49ers really need to win this game. They just need it, man. Like mentally, they need it. And I don't think the Chiefs need it. And I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to go in there and go completely vanilla, but I just think Kyle Shanahan is going to throw everything he's got at the Chiefs. And I think Kansas City is going to hold a little bit back because it's an NFC game. And the 49ers are really good. I think they're the best team in the NFC. And I think there's a really good chance if people stay healthy that they'll be back in the Super Bowl. And I think the Chiefs know it. And they psychologically, like the Chiefs lose a regular season game. They lose regular season games to rivals all the time. They've lost to Baltimore. They've lost to the Bills. They've lost to the Bengals. The Chiefs don't care. That kind of shit doesn't rattle them. They've got 3 Super Bowls with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. They're going for a 3-peat. They understand the game they're playing. They want to be healthy, and they want to make sure they've got a little held back for some of these teams that they might see in the postseason. It's not that they're not trying to win regular season games, and I'm just telling you, man, they've admitted as much that they do it. And I think the 49ers psychologically, Kyle Shanahan, after having lost to these guys, 3 times in a row or something, in 2 of those games in Super Bowls, he needs it, man. Mentally, he just needs that victory. And I think he needs to show his team we can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a really good coach. I think he's going to throw everything at him. I think the 49ers are going to win this one, even though the Chiefs are coming off a bye. They're at home. Chiefs fall to 4-2. That's how I see it. It's not that I don't think the Chiefs can beat the 49ers. We know they can. They just beat them in the Super Bowl. But it's just one of those regular season games. It's just not. It's just when the Chiefs come to town, man, like everybody wants a piece. They want to win that game so bad. They're all so sick of the Chiefs. There's got to be no team more sick of the Chiefs than the San Francisco 49ers. And the Chiefs are just kind of like, it's that whole thing. It's like that, it's that quote from Mad Men when Don Draper's in the elevator with Pete Campbell. And Pete Campbell's like, I feel sorry for you. And Don just totally body bags him and says, I don't think about you at all, and gets off the elevator. That's the Chiefs and the rest of the NFL. All these other teams who think they're rivals of the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills, the Ravens, the 49ers, the Eagles. The Chiefs don't, in the regular season, that the Chiefs are Don Draper. They're like, I don't think about you at all. I'm thinking about one thing, and that's beating whoever I end up in the Super Bowl against. That's it. KCDC says run defense could hurt us with 49ers for sure. KCDC says 49ers can have all the regular season. We'll take the Super Bowl. I agree. Slothy doesn't agree. Slothy thinks Cincinnati's more tired of the Chiefs than any other team. Maybe, but they can't keep their quarterback on the field. So, it is what it is. So anyway, I got the Chiefs falling to 4-2. Probably not the start we were all hoping for, but it's not a bad start. I mean, you're playing in these first 6 games. You're playing Baltimore, you're playing Cincinnati, you're playing San Francisco. It's a tough opening schedule for the Chiefs. All right, week 8. 4-2 Chiefs head to Las Vegas on October 27th. That's a Sunday, a couple of days before Halloween. 3:25 kick. First time the Chiefs are seeing the Raiders since the Christmas Day disaster, which is the last football game that they have lost, regular season football game that mattered. I'm predicting a bloodbath here. It's week 8. The Chiefs are going to be hot coming off their loss from San Francisco, and they are not going to have forgotten the trash talk that has been coming out of Las Vegas. They're not going to forget about Antonio Pierce and his Mahomes rules shtick. They're not going to forget about that Christmas Day game that you want to talk about. I just talked about the Chiefs, these regular seasons. They don't care. This is a regular season game the Chiefs care about. The Chiefs they're winners. And when they get a bad taste in their mouth, like you lose a hard-fought game to the 49ers, whatever, man. Like, we'll see you in the playoffs. We'll see you in the Super Bowl. That game against the Raiders, they probably still have nightmares about that game because it wasn't because the Raiders came in and smacked them in the mouth. Although the Raiders did play very hard on defense in that game, it was just a shit show from the Chiefs. Absolute shit show. I don't think the Raiders scored a touchdown in the second half. I don't think maybe they didn't score. It was just brutal. The Chiefs were just handing them the football. They want to wash that bad taste out of their mouth, and they want to smack the Raiders in the mouth for all their smack talking. I think it's a bloodbath. I think the Chiefs hang 42 on the Raiders in this game and win by 3 touchdowns, move to 5-2. Let's move on. Lauren Shank says they didn't complete a pass. God almighty. I got to tell you, man, I was sitting there, we were getting ready to go over my in-laws for Christmas, and I'm watching that game, and I got to do the podcast, and I'm just thinking to myself, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Like, let's just leave. Why am I watching this game? I mean, I don't usually feel like that during a Chiefs game. That was one of the worst Chiefs games I've ever seen. Brutal. That's what it takes for the Raiders to beat the Chiefs. And I think this Antonio Pierce guy, like, he got them all fired up. I think it's a Romeo Crennel situation all over again. Like what happened with the Chiefs. Romeo Crennel late in the season gets them playing hard because they hated the coach that they had so bad that they're just like, this guy's great. He's not that guy. And then the Chiefs, almost make the playoffs, and they bring back Romeo Crennel. And thank God they did, because they went 2-14, and then the Chiefs hired Andy Reid. That's what's happening this season with the Raiders, in my estimation. Gardner Minshew is your starting quarterback. Like, you drafted Aiden O'Connell, and he can't win the job. Gardner Minshew, you don't have a future with Gardner Minshew. He's good. Like, he's a solid, like, backup quarterback. I like the guy, but Raiders are going to, that's going to be another hot seat situation with Antonio Pierce this year. Chiefs move to 6-2. All right. Week 10, Sunday, November 10th, versus Denver at Arrowhead. Noon kick. One of the only noon kicks of the year. Yes, the Broncos finally beat the Chiefs last year, but that, again, had more to do with the Chiefs' own struggles than the Broncos being good. Denver should be worse this year than they were last year. This is the first year of their real rebuild with Sean Payton. They've got a rookie quarterback. They have the second worst win total prediction, according to Las Vegas, in the NFL at 5.5 games. Only the Patriots have a worse win total prediction. I think the Chiefs win this game. I don't think it's particularly close. I think Spags feasts on their rookie quarterback. Chiefs move to 7-2. Someone saying I skipped the Bucs. Did I skip a game? I totally did. Well, now you know how Week 10 is going to go. Rewind. Back to Week 9. Thank you, Slothy. Monday, November 4th, versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a game at Arrowhead. It is Monday Night Football, 7:15 kick on ESPN. Another strange choice for Monday Night Football, the Bucs. I think the Bucs, honestly, were even surprised themselves that they made the playoffs last year. The 2023 Bucs kind of remind me of the Chiefs in 1997 or 1999. Remember when Gunther Cunningham was named the head coach and they finished 9-7? They missed playoffs. They tied Seattle for the division lead, but they lost the tiebreaker. Then the next year they go 7-9 and Gunther got fired. I think it's one of those situations where, like, the Bucs, like, they've got some old players, like a good roster left over from a previous regime. and they get Baker Mayfield to come in. Everybody thinks they're going to lose, and like they're still kind of like serviceable, and they win a couple games maybe. But it's not because of the coach. It's not because of the talent on the roster. And then it kind of all falls apart. That's what you're going to see with the Bucs this year. I think the Chiefs win easy. Baker Mayfield throws 3 interceptions. That's my prediction. Chiefs move to 6-2. And as I mentioned, the next week, November 10th, versus the Denver Broncos. The Chiefs win. They're 7-2. The Broncos are going to be bad this year. Like I said, 5.5 wins is their. That's the over-under, man, from Vegas. 5.5 wins. I might take the under on this one. I might see him only winning 5 games. Okay, week 11. Another rival. Sunday, November 17th, at Buffalo, 3:25 p.m. Chiefs, of course, once again ended Buffalo's season last year. The Buffalo Bills have had the Chiefs number in the regular season in recent years. And again, I think part of it's because of that Don Draper thing. And the Chiefs figure stuff out. Like they figure stuff out in the regular season. That's what they use it for. I do not think that this will be the Buffalo Bills team that you're used to. Stephon Diggs is gone. The pass catchers are made up of basically a bunch of wide receiver 3s and 4s and a rookie. I think Josh Allen will keep him in this game. He'll run a lot. He'll be the same frustrating Josh Allen that we're all used to. I just think the Chiefs are the better team, top to bottom. They've lost people on defense. KC wins again, 8-2. They're 8-2, heading into week 12. KCDC says Bills only have 4 wide receivers. It's not good, man. Keon Coleman might turn out to be good, but Curtis Samuel, he's always hurt. He's never really been it's not pretty for Josh Allen. Okay, week 12, Sunday, November 24th at Carolina. Again, we're predicting the Chiefs' schedule game by game here. At Carolina, noon kick. What a layup of a game for the Chiefs. How blessed are they to have a road game against Carolina? Honestly, the Chiefs might just go ahead and treat this game like a bye week and start Carson Wentz. The Panthers are going to be absolutely awful. I don't believe in their quarterback. Chiefs win easy. We don't need to spend any time on this game. 9-2. That's 5 in a row now. Chiefs, after a 4-2 start, rattle off 5 straight wins to move to 9-2. And now it's Tone B in the chat. What's up, Tone? Says undefeated season for the Chiefs. Slothy says, do we even talk about the Panthers game? No, we just spent a minute on it. Okay. Week 13, Friday, Black Friday, November 29th. It's Vegas again. It's the Raiders, this time at Arrowhead. A 2:00 kick, just the weirdest shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's a Black Friday game. So Chiefs will play on Sunday on November 24th. And then you have Thanksgiving. And then the day after, I hope the Chiefs don't eat too much turkey. That tryptophane's dangerous. They have to play a 2:00 game on Black Friday against Vegas. This one's going to be on Prime Video. So even if you've got Sunday ticket and all that crap, if you're out of town, you're going to have to go get Prime Video if you want to watch the game. It's a pain in the ass. The NFL sucks for that. Look, the Chiefs play the Raiders. It's a short week. It won't matter. I think at this point, the calls for Antonio Pierce's job will start after the Chiefs once again hang 40 points on the Raiders for the second time this season, and the Chiefs win their 6th game in a row. I think at this point, maybe Aiden O'Connell's starting because Gardner Minshew's not working out. The Chiefs move to 10-2. The Raiders start looking for a new head coach and start looking at the draft. Okay, week 14. Things are going well. Chiefs have won 6 games in a row. They're 10-2. It's Sunday, December 8th. And they're going to play the Chargers on Peacock. Sunday Night Football. NBC, Peacock. I think the Chargers will be playing better at this point in the season. They could be pushing for a wild card. Again, they may not be, but I just believe in the coach. So I think he'll, just like when Andy Reid came and took over the 2-14 Chiefs, like when you get a competent coach in there, you know, you should win. This is a team that will win the games I think it should, even with the lack of talent in places. So I think they could be challenging for a wild card at this point. That's good news for LA. That's bad news. The bad news is the Chiefs just have way more talent. Chiefs by 10 in this game. I don't think it ever feels close. That's 7 in a row for KC, moving them to 11-2 in early December. I love that. Slothy says week 14, the day after my birthday, my first trip to Arrowhead. Chiefs win their 13th game of the season. I love it, Slothy. Birthday win for Slothy. What's Peter saying in the chat? There's rumors that Cooper Kupp might get in. If you guys get him, you will be doomed. What? The Chiefs might get Cooper Kupp? That doesn't make sense. What's that? That the Chargers might get Cooper Kupp? Is there a conversation in the chat happening? That somebody explain to me in the chat what's going on there? I would, if there's a rumor about the Chiefs getting Cooper Kupp, I would like that. I don't think that's going to happen. And we're not playing the Rams. We're playing the Chargers. At any rate, Chiefs moved 11-2. This is good news. All right, week 15, Sunday, December 15th, at Cleveland, noon kick. This is an interesting one. The Browns, I think they'll still have an excellent defense. They won a bunch of games last year and made the playoffs with a carousel of mediocre quarterbacks, and then Joe Flacco came and rescued them. I expect a physical game. Could be cold. You never know with December weather, mid-December, but this is on the shores of Lake Erie, and I've seen a lot of games there, and it is that wind comes off the lake. It's not pleasant. I don't expect the Browns to be strong enough to hang with the Chiefs on offense. I just did Deshaun Watson. I think he's cooked, man. We'll see, but I think the Chiefs win streak moves to 8 games here, and the Chiefs move to 12-2, and they've got the number 1 seed in the AFC inside. I think they go to Cleveland and get a win. I think the Browns might beat them up a little bit because that is a really aggressive defense, and I think Kevin Stefanski is a good coach, but Chiefs win. Okay, week 16, Saturday, December 21st. A Saturday game because the Chiefs play on pretty much every game of the week. Sean Browning says Jones versus Garrett in Cleveland. Yeah, I mean, that's what the Chiefs got to watch out for, Myles Garrett, right? Week 16, Saturday, December 21st versus Houston, noon kick, NBC and Peacock, getting into the holiday season here. This one's going to be hyped, right? Mahomes versus CJ Stroud. I think the Texans are going to be good this year. I think they'll be excellent, actually. You know, like the Lions last year, to me, this is the Lions game all over again. It's the prove-it game for the upstart Houston Texans. The Christmas is going to be right around the corner. I think the Chiefs are going to drop their guard a little bit in this one. I think Houston takes advantage. I think KC will get sloppy with turnovers in this game. They're coming off a tough game against the Browns. They're a little beat up. And I think Stroud makes them pay. They turn the ball over. Texans win. They snap Kansas City's win streak. And they fall to 12-3. Remember, I've got them coming on an 8-game win streak coming into this game. Christmas, Chiefs feeling good, quality opponent, tough game the week before. Just kind of how you can't win them all. Has a recipe of one of those games the Chiefs drop. What's going on in the chat? Something about Cooper Kupp. He restructured his contract. I don't know. I can't follow you guys. I'm sorry. Week 17. Christmas. So here's the thing that this game just pisses me off to no end. The Chiefs got to play on a Friday. They got to play on a Saturday here against Houston on December 21st. Then 4 days later on Christmas Day and week 17, they have to go on the road to Pittsburgh. I mean, that's just brutal, man. I don't care if you think the Steelers are going to be trash. That's tough. And this game is going to be on Netflix. So another annoying thing is that I got paid for Sunday ticket, but I can't get this game because it's on Netflix. I have to have Netflix. I got to have Peacock. I got to have Amazon Prime. It's a racket, man. It's just an absolute racket. Anyway, just 4 days after losing to the Texans, I got the Chiefs. They're playing Christmas Day, second straight year on a friggin' Wednesday. They got to go to Pittsburgh. I think the Steelers will be around 500 at this point, but I think they'll be shuffling quarterbacks because neither of those guys are particularly good, Wilson or Fields. Chiefs could see Justin Fields in this one. I think the Pittsburgh is going to lose some of their great home field advantage here with this game. Christmas Day, even though it's the Steelers and they have great fans, they're going to be around 500, probably looking up at all the other 3 teams in the division. No solid quarterback play. cold. People are going to stay home. They're going to sell their tickets to Chiefs fans. And I think much like the Chiefs did last Christmas, the Steelers lay an egg in this one. It's not going to be one of their more competitive games of the season. KC wins easily, moves to 13-3. KCDC says Fields will prevail by week 6. Very well could be, man. Very well could be. Okay, so that's it. That's week 17. The Chiefs are 13-3. Last game of the year. Last game of the regular season. Tone B says 3 games in 10 days shows why we have great depth. I expect those backup players to get time. Yeah, it's just brutal, man. It's just brutal. Week 18 at Denver, Sunday, January 5th. I've got bad news for you. Patrick Mahomes is not going to play in this game. You're not going to get to see Patrick Mahomes. You're going to have to watch Carson Wentz. But the good news is you're going to have to watch Carson Wentz because the Chiefs will have locked up the number 1 seed on Christmas Day thanks to their head-to-head victory in the opener against the number 2 seed Baltimore Ravens. The Chiefs will have a game on them at this point, and when they beat the Steelers, it's a wrap. They don't need to win this last game, even if the Ravens finish with the same record as KC. KC will have the head-to-head. I think Chiefs rest all their veteran starters in this game, and just the combination of Carson Wentz and McCole Hardman and Sky Moore that you're going to get are just not going to be enough to get it done in Denver, who's trying to get a win to build on. So they're in Denver, they're on the road. It's all backups. Carson Wentz, Chiefs lose. Who cares? They finished the season 13-4 as the number 1 seed in the AFC. That's how I see it. That's how I see it going. We'll see if I'm right. We'll see if I'm wrong. Slothy says week 17, the Chiefs travel to Arrowhead Mountain Resort. Mahomes, Kelsey, and Jones all sitting because we're 16-0. Wentz leads a nail-biter and barely edges out Bo Nix, and the Chiefs finish 17-0. That's an interesting question. I don't think that'll be the case. But if the Chiefs were 16-0 in that game, they would clearly have the number 1 seed locked up. Do you think Andy and the Chiefs would play the game against the Denver Broncos? It's kind of fascinating, isn't it? The Patriots did it. The Patriots did it in, the last week of the season. I think it was against the Giants when they finished 16-0. Giants gave them a run for their money and then, of course, beat them in the Super Bowl. Lauren Shank says, no, just want the 3-peat. That's a tough one, man. Last year when Travis Kelce had a chance to get his however many 1,000-yard season, he needed 16 yards last game of the year. He had been banged up. He took himself out, man. He didn't care about the individual accolade. He wanted to win the Super Bowl. This is different. You have a chance to be like, the 3rd team ever to go undefeated in the regular season. They would be the 1st team to go 17-0 in a regular season because the Patriots went 16-0. And they're still trying to do the 3-peat. This team is so good that chasing history is kind of what motivates them now. Chasing history is what motivates Patrick Mahomes at this point. He could retire. He's going to walk into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask this one on Twitter. I think they would play. I think they would play at least for a while. I think that maybe they'd go out there and they try to get a lead and then maybe turn it over to the backups because it's one of those things, right? The ultimate goal is to 3-peat. And so you don't want to put players in harm's way and have them get hurt. But at the same time, in a meaningless game. But at the same time, man, can you imagine if they go 16-0, go to Denver, play Carson Wentz, lose, and then 3-peat? It would kind of take, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't. They'd be the 1st team ever to 3-peat. They won the Super Bowl. They'd be like, who cares about an undefeated season? That's not the goal. Going undefeated is not the goal. But I don't know, man. It would be a hard pill for me to swallow as a fan. But if I personally had to pick, I wouldn't want to do the risk. I wouldn't want to do the risk. But I think the Chiefs might want to play. Sean Browning says, why not try to join the 72 Dolphins? Yeah, I mean, I agree. Slothy says Wentz is good enough to beat the Broncos. That's a fair point. I think it depends on who plays on offense. That's the problem. because Peyton's a good coach. So, does he have the weapons to get it done? I guess is the point on the road. If they were at Arrowhead, I'd feel a lot better about it. Maybe by that point, like, I don't know maybe there's an injury to Knicks or something, and the Broncos are really packing it in too. So who knows? KCDC says Wentz could deliver the W. Kathy agrees Wentz can win it. Slothy says Patriots did it. Yes. Then you got punched in the mouth in the Super Bowl. So Andy will have learned from that. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I mean, now it was against the same team, but it had to have benefited the Giants that they played Brady and the starters and they took them to the limit in that game. They still lost. But walking out of the game, like, what did that game do? Like, for the Patriots, and what did it do for the Giants? For the Patriots, it was like, okay, we've had this dominant, maybe the most dominant regular season in the history of the sport, and we've got a chance to chase history and join the Dolphins as being the only team to go undefeated, and we'll have done so winning far more games. For the Giants, it was like, we can hang with these guys. You could make the argument that if the Patriots don't play their starters in that one, maybe the Giants win, maybe the Patriots still win. And the Giants are just like, man, we just, what if the Giants don't win that game? And they're like, man, we just barely beat the Patriots backups. And if the Giants do win, they're like, we played their backups. And then you haven't got the chance to face the juggernaut AFC team that the Patriots were when you get to the Super Bowl. So I would argue that was maybe one of the most consequential games in NFL history, and that it allowed Spags, who was the defensive coordinator of the Giants at the time, to get a look at everything because the Patriots really wanted to win it. So, yeah, maybe the Chiefs, screw it. Screw the undefeated season. I want Super Bowls. I've convinced myself. Slothy says, you're right, Bo Nix could be hurt, which means we'll be playing against Zach Wilson. Yep. Lauren Shank says, bring or bust. Conway Liddy says, as much as I would love for them to go undefeated and three-peat, we have to not undersell anyone. KC is target number one, and every team will bring their best efforts. That's true. Peter says, are you guys afraid of the Bears? Bears are a pretty good team. Not afraid of the Bears, because the Bears aren't going to be in the Super Bowl. They're not making the Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback. I don't care how good he looked in the preseason, running a bunch of bootlegs. I think they might be good. They put together a nice roster, but I'm not worried about them this year. That's it. Chiefs go 13-4, win the number one seed, according to my predictions. And according to some of you, they're going to go for an undefeated season. I will say, man, if they get by Cincinnati, Baltimore, it's so hard. But if they get by Cincinnati, Baltimore, and San Francisco, like if they're undefeated after that, after week 7 and they come after San Francisco, this is their schedule. At Vegas, home against Tampa, home against Denver, at Buffalo, at Carolina, home against Vegas, home against the Chargers, at Cleveland, home against Houston, at Pittsburgh, at Denver. I mean, what are the games that concern you there? If they're playing that well, that they're undefeated and they beat all those teams, Buffalo, okay. Houston, they get them at home. So maybe your tallest task is Buffalo on the road at that point. You get Houston at home, big lights game for the Texans. I mean, they're not going to go undefeated. But, like, if they win those games I mentioned, they got a shot. They got a shot. Then again, they lost to the Raiders last year. So that's the NFL for you. All right, everybody, great show. I had a blast. Listen, we're going to be back next week with our regular slate of shows, starting with the Intangibles on Monday, Tuesdays with Sterling on Tuesday, Wacky Wednesday on Wednesday with Sterling and Adam Best. I'll be back here for the OG Hour on Thursday, but not at the regularly scheduled time, not at 4 o'clock, because the Chiefs have a game. So we'll be here, the OG Hour. It's going to be pregame. It's going to be halftime, and it's going to be the postgame show. It's going to be a blast. The boys are going to be there. We're going to have a great time. So the next time, I can't believe it, the next time I see you guys, it's going to be game day. It's going to be the pregame show. I'm super fired up. Make sure you hit arrowheadaddict.com to get all the news and everything coming out of Arrowhead as we head into game week, and make sure you're here for the regular slate of shows. The guys will get you ready for that game against the Baltimore Ravens. Shout out to our members again. If you want to become a part of the Arrowhead Addict community, now's the time to jump on board. Check the link in the description and become part of the community. You're too late for the Fantasy Football League, but you're not too late to hang out with us in Discord, talk beer, talk food, talk Chiefs. And one last favor, Apple Podcasts. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review for the show. We'll read it on the show. Maybe not on Thursday because we're doing game stuff, but we'll read it. I'll read it on the OG Hour the following week. Ask me a question, leave a 5-star review. It's a great way to support the show. We're trying to boost our audio listeners. And if you want us to keep expanding the show and bringing you more content, it's a great way to help us out. It costs nothing but a few minutes of your time. We really greatly appreciate when you guys do it. And I want us to get to 400 reviews over there. I think we're at like 350 or something like that. I want us to try to get to 400 Apple Podcast audio reviews for the end of the season. So do me a solid. And if you haven't updated your review in a while and you've left us one, update it. Ask a question. I'll do it on the pod. Okay, everybody. Appreciate you. Shout out to all our members in the chat. Shout out to Slothy and Conway Liddy and Lauren Shanks and Tone B and Sean Browning and KCDC and Kathy. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your participation during the show. I will see you guys next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Get some barbecue. Rest up. Hydrate because it's football season, baby, and we're going wire to wire back to the Super Bowl. Love you guys. See you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.